Yes, we are. We are live. Hi, everybody. Thanks again for joining us for our review series. This is the fifth and final installment in our current series of ITSM reviews. For those of you who haven't joined before, welcome. And for those who've seen some of the others, welcome back. Very quickly, I'm Daniel Gilby, account manager here at Xcession. And just quickly on Xcession, for those who've not joined us before, Xcession are a professional services consulting and implementation partner around all things ITSM. We do a whole lot more as well. And if you'd like to find out more about that, please do get in touch. I'm joined again, as always, with Sunil. And just before Sunil introduces himself, I'm really pleased to advise that for this review on the Jira Service Management platform, we've got our CEO, Mark Toomey, joining us. Mark, welcome. If just for the audience, if you wouldn't mind just saying a few words, let us know your role within the Xcession team, please.
Yeah, thanks very much, Daniel. I'm delighted to be here today. Hi everyone. My name is Mark Toomey. I'm the CEO of Xcession. We are running now for almost 6 years now. We've been running as an organization, and we are working across multiple ITSM tools. Really looking forward to contributing to the review session today, which is a very, very interesting one.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you. Sunil, if you wouldn't mind just giving us a quick recap.
Yeah, thank you, Dan, and welcome, Mark, and also welcome back to Daniel's cat tree, just over on over his shoulder there. But no, I'm Sunil Dougal, so I'm CEO of Xcession. I've known Mark for a very long time, so delighted to have come and joined the Xcession business a couple of years ago. My background prior to that is sort of a decade or so working with IT service management solutions, but more importantly, working with customers who are looking to get the most out of their investment. Super excited about this one. Jira Service Management. We became a Jira Service Management or an Atlassian partner about 9 months ago or so. Looking forward to telling you why.
Fantastic. Thanks, Sunil. I'll put the slides up and let's walk through it. Okay. So Jira Service Management, I think we've pretty conclusively said that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I'll skip on a slide. And again, for those of you who've joined us before, this will be quite familiar, but frankly, it is a high-level overview. We're trying to pinpoint the things that are most important. We're not going to get into every kind of nook and cranny around the solution. Of course, if you'd like to have a further view of our thoughts around the solutions in more detail, please do reach out and let us know. And this slide will be included in the slide deck. If you'd like a copy, again, leave a comment and we'll gladly share them with you. Sunil, I think this is probably one that you're best suited to talk around, just to give everybody a flavour of what areas we'll be covering. So over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So, as Dan said, right, we're not delving into the nooks and crannies. We won't even show you a screenshot. But what we did want to do, and as we've done consistently through the series, is really give organizations or individuals who are thinking about a new tool set or who have one of these existing tool sets and are looking to maximize value, trying to give you the kind of information you need to know about what it's like to live with that tool set. So we're going to cover the end user and agent interface. So what is it going to be like to work with, whether you're someone in, in HR, whether you're someone in IT, or when you're someone in the business who's looking to access services. We're going to tell you a little bit about what it's like to implement and administer. So, give you a feel for the ease of that. We'll talk a bit about some of the more advanced ITSM and ITOM use cases around CMDB, but for Jira Service Management or JSM today, there's a really good interlink there into the DevOps function as well. We'll talk a bit about what the tool is like from an extensibility perspective across your organization. We'll talk about what that platform offering is. And of course, as always, we talk about total cost of ownership too. So hopefully a good rounded view in terms of perhaps, maybe what the vendors don't tell you. Shall I roll on, Dan?
Yep, let's skip past that uncomfortable pause there for a second and go on to the next slide. Thank you.
So, everybody has heard of Atlassian, right? They're a $1.8 billion software business. and they have an incredible community of users using Jira software and some of the other tools in their stable. So 250,000 organizations worldwide. It's enormous. And from the Atlassian point of view, they have identified that Jira Service Desk wasn't really a competitor to the big name or established ITSM, ESM tools out there, and they needed to come up with a new solution. So Jira Service Management, here we go. I guess, what's kind of important is that Atlassian's philosophies, so they talk about empowering teams and giving teams autonomy. They want to make their tool sets easy for customers to buy and adopt, okay? And they don't want to be pigeonholed in one specific part of the business. So these philosophies, right, have rolled through into Jira Service Management, and we're going to talk more detail about some of these areas. And I think, for an organization that has, and you can see this in the Atlassian thinking, right, for an organization that has already made a substantial investment into Atlassian products, particularly Jira software, they want to make it as appealing as possible for somebody in that C-suite to say, well, why are we buying something else, right? Let's buy the tool set from Atlassian that's integrated into our existing suite of products. So, it's and this is actually one of the reasons why we at Xcession have decided to partner up. It's because, there's great applicability, I think, in the marketplace for JSM. And I guess, Dan, you're going to see this, right? The more we go out there and speak to customers, and we're talking to one already that has, a big development house, a big investment in Jira software, and they're wondering where best to go in the market for their ITSM requirements. So let's have a quick look at the end user and agent interface, and I'm going to bounce this to Mark in a minute, but I guess for anybody that is used to working with Jira software, right, they will see a lot of parallels here. And they should see, anyone who's seen it before should be pretty comfortable with the configuration. From an agent workspace perspective, fully configurable to the teams that are fulfilling the work from IT, HR, others business functions. It looks like Jira, right? But what Atlassian have deliberately done here is take a view on the extensibility, the ESM side of things. So unlike perhaps some of the other tool sets where, really the layout is defined and some of the language is really focused around IT, that's not so much the case here. And I think the end user portal is also set up for business teams. It's very intuitive and flexible. Mark, I'm just going to ask you perhaps to comment on this because, for teams and empowerment is pretty relevant, isn't it, when it comes to the configuration, both from an agent perspective of non-IT functions and also the end user perspective?
Yeah, one of the things that strikes me very much with Jira Service Management is the ease of the setup, from a configuration perspective. And also one thing that we really like about it is how it's very much focused on teams and making teams very more autonomous, even to the extent where you can create a kind of a team's workspace or project within Jira Service Management specific to a team. That could be a line of business team, such as finance or procurement, etc. Or it could be a specific team that wants to have a specific service management solution in place. To the extent where the team can manage their own configuration within that space, right? It's a huge step forward. It's something we're starting to see with other ITSM tools, which are more ESM focused. But this autonomy of teams message that comes through Jira Service Management is very, very, it's very, very noticeable in this. Also, the ease of which you can integrate with things like Slack and Microsoft Teams, it's very, very quick, very, very simple. There's a lot of benefits to this. It's very, very easy to use. Yeah, it's very,
that's a really interesting point. So both the Teams element of this, but also the collaboration, right, is a massive underpinning. Again, philosophy, right, within Atlassian, isn't it? So enabling that collaboration native integrations to Slack, I guess, but also, opening up to things like Microsoft Teams is really important, isn't it? Let's move on a slide, actually, Mark, because you sort of talked a bit about ease of implementation and administration. So, the view that we've got here is that implementation timeframes can be very quick, right? There's potentially a very short route to value for organizations. Do you think that's right?
I think it is for the main use cases. Like Jira Service Management very much focused on incident, problem, service request, change enablement, asset inventory, knowledge, and a very, very robust reporting solution if you've got the enterprise analytics enabled, right? But generally, from an IT support perspective, you can be up and running reasonably quickly. Integrations to existing tooling are for the standard tooling, things like Azure AD, Teams, Slack, all those things that allow you to populate the system, integrate it with your existing tooling, particularly collaboration tools such as Slack and Teams. Get your self-service portal up and running, branded easily, quickly, services populated easily, quickly. Discovery done through the asset discovery, which we'll touch on. It covers off a lot of areas very, very quickly. Right. I'm not a genius, and I'm able to do it reasonably quickly without much training, so it's quite easy to use, in my opinion. Right. So,
what about reporting? So, if you've got this sort of ease of getting teams up and running, right? Is reporting as easy and as simple?
Yeah. So from a dashboards perspective, it comes with various different dashboards that are embedded out of the box within the tool, right? And these would be standard dashboards you'd expect to see in any ITSM/ESM tool. Obviously, to create these as well is reasonably straightforward as well. So it's very, very straightforward to create, and you can add different widgets onto your dashboards quite easily. Obviously, a dashboard is a series of reports, and the visualization of those reports and the ability to interact with those is very, very straightforward. You can do it. If an organization is looking for, enterprise service management as a dashboard that looks across all of your different kind of lines of business very, very easily, or you can have specific dashboards within that line of business, within that project as it's referred to within Jira Service Management.
And this idea of teams being able to, to do their own sort of administration configuration, does that extend to the creation of dashboards and reports as well?
You can allow people to do that as well. It's very much role based, and you can allow people to do that as well. So very flexible.
Okay. So that's exactly what I was going to use.
To enable people to create their own reports and dashboards as much as possible.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so flexibility is exactly the word I was thinking there.
Yeah.
Interesting. So let's talk a bit more about some of the slightly more technical IT use cases, right? So obviously we know that ServiceNow, BMC, or perhaps some of the heavyweights in the ITSM world have got perhaps the most comprehensive CMDB solutions out there, but I think JSM's perhaps not got quite the same level of capability. But Atlassian would probably argue that how often do you engage a customer that's struggling to maximize on their CMDB anyway? So I mean, what's your view on it? Do you think it's covering the majority of the bases there?
It is very, very powerful. Like the inventory module is very good in Jira Service Management. It covers off a lot of the assets and the relationships you'd expect to see, right? There's also obviously asset discovery, which is a separate application you can download. It has an agentless scanner to allow you to discover your different devices and CIs on your local networks. And then there's also the ability to apply an agent, which allows you to do a bit more of a deeper discovery and collect the data from Windows systems using WMI, right? But it's a very, very powerful tool, even as a collector that enables you to run multiple instances of discovery in parallel. So it is very scalable. Also, it's not just aimed at a smaller market for that, right? So it is powerful and expected to improve and over time, and then how it links in with Opsgenie from an event management / monitoring perspective also is very, very helpful.
We are live, so apologies everybody if you can hear my cat in the background. You do this. Okay, so what about the big play, right, from an Atlassian perspective, Mark? The fact that, you know, these organizations, 250,000 or more of them, have made this investment in Jira software, right? What does this integration, you know, look like? How is it really genuinely helping in a way that perhaps some of the other service management tool sets aren't?
Yeah, so it pops up from time to time, but it's very, very prevalent within Jira Service Management is the ability for you to plug in your CI/CD tooling into your service management system. The benefit of that is it allows you to enable kind of change deployment and change deployment tracking. So you're able to track all the changes that you're applying to your services through your CI/CD pipelines. And in addition, then you're allowed to apply gating to it within Jira Service Management. So that based on a risk profile that's applied to a certain type of deployment that's occurring, that can allow you to either auto approve it or to block that and make sure you have to approve it before it's deployed. Yeah. What that allows you to do is it allows you to have a full history of what's occurring. Yeah. What changes are being applied. Often, as we know, incidents tend to be caused by changes. So you've got a full view of what's going on there. And then the risk engine that allows you to do that processing of as changes are being deployed, what risk is applied to them, that then allows you to apply this gating to those changes. And it's more and more of a common requirement, particularly as teams evolve into working in a DevOps kind of mode of ways of working. These CI/CD tools are now very, very prevalent, and every service management system, worth their salt, has to have good integration to those tools, right? And this does.
Do you think so? Dan just flashed up a question there. You know, if anyone's out there using Atlassian software in the organization, does it make sense to look at or to also use JSM? I mean, there we go. Thank you, Dan. To me, that's a bit of a no-brainer. You know, it may not be what you choose to buy, but it's definitely worth looking at. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I would agree. Like, yeah, and especially if you're on the cloud platform, particularly in my opinion, yeah. I think that's a big thing to look at it, because Jira now has a cloud platform, yeah, and historically might have been seen as Jira on-premise, and you know, Jira data center is referred to, but in the cloud you've got Jira, obviously standard Jira applications, but this Jira Service Management also sits on that platform, and you get the benefits of a platform from an integration security perspective, single sign-on, all these things you'd expect in analytics in the enterprise version. All these things you'd expect in the platform are now there within the Jira platform, which is very, very interesting. It allows it to push on and push forward. And through some of the acquisitions that they've made, you can see that they are plugging some of the gaps in Jira Service Management. And they have been plugged, in my opinion, with the likes of Opsgenie and, you know, a virtual agent also, and the ease of which you can integrate these with your existing cloud and collaboration tools means that it's definitely a big, big player, in my opinion. Yeah, it's interesting stuff. We touched a bit on the ESM side of things already. I don't know how much more there is to add here, but the one thing that I would flag up, right, and I think we've got a point here in the slide, is that of the 250,000 or so existing Jira software customers, or existing Atlassian customers, about 50,000 organizations worldwide, right, are apparently using Jira Service Management in some capacity. And Atlassian have said that roughly 50% of those JSM use cases are non-IT. So, you know, that's back of a fag packet math, 25,000 organizations using JSM already out there in the enterprise. I don't have any data points to compare other vendors out there, but to me that suggests that the ESM offering for JSM or for Atlassian is already working. Yeah, and I think what you're saying, Mark, is that it's easy to see why, right, with the ease of config and the ease of extensibility. Yeah, they've made it very easy to onboard non-IT teams to this. Yeah. To the extent where, you know, I can see it being bought by teams who are non-IT teams who need a service management solution, right? And if you're already using the Jira cloud platform, like I mentioned, this negates, this kind of might bring an end to some of the shadow IT we've seen with teams buying their own service management or systems, even to the extent where it can do customer service management now is a new thing that they're looking to try and push as well. So, it's not just an internally facing service management solution; it allows customer facing elements to it also. All right. So there's a template that they've built for customer service management also.
Yeah. That's really interesting, actually, because if you compare, what you've just talked about here with JSM to some of the perhaps larger ITSM or more traditional ITSM vendors, the concept of, say, BMC or even to a degree ServiceNow landing in an organization that is not IT is quite alien. That first engagement with the customer for those players, maybe not so much with ServiceNow and HR, they have done very well in that space, but broadly still their biggest consumer base is IT, isn't it? Very much the same with BMC. So perhaps with Atlassian's approach here, that ability to land outside of IT and perhaps extend back into IT is a march perhaps on the competition, right?
Yeah, it's very, very interesting, and like I said, the speed of onboarding, the speed of deployment is a very interesting solution. The ability for teams to manage their own workspaces, really, essentially, or projects, is also very, very interesting. And again, it ties into the whole delivering autonomy to teams as a key kind of approach that Atlassian are trying to make, right? And it does make a lot of sense. I think that ESM use cases are so prevalent now at the moment everywhere. The need for case management systems, request systems, etc., that are and where this plays very, very well. So prevalent now. You don't want to have you need to go through this fast, and these are able to turn it around quickly and do it.
Yeah. So, do you think then, Mark? I mean, just harking back to our 4Me review, where we looked at their philosophy and approach to things, and looking at everything as a service rather than being fully ITIL aligned. That there's a degree of that in the JSM toolbox that actually, if we look at things more like services, it's going to have a wider applicability.
Yeah, I suppose it's the services, but also it's I think within JSM, I look at it more as it's around teams, focused on teams. Yeah, so it's delivering line of business service management functionality, but it's mainly for a team that does it. And in a team, then you have various queues. So it obviously can extend out very, very greatly across the organization. But if you look at those kind of use cases, it tends to be a smaller number of teams within a line of business that would use it, and then obviously you could build the services and do all that as well, but it's very, 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 very powerful. Yeah, so it's a very, very interesting solution. Yeah, so
which I think brings us nicely on to perhaps the platform offering here. So, and funnily enough, I'm so sorry, but this is live, but it's someone from Atlassian calling me. He knows. So. The platform offering. So, Atlassian's thinking here is that they, in perhaps with a similar outcome but a different approach to, say, someone like ServiceNow, what they're looking to do is give that C-suite an understanding of workload, right, and efficiencies across the entire organization. So when you look at things like, Confluence, for example, you're trying to offer the I'm really sorry. The cat is now in the room. Bear with me, please.
Well, it could only happen here, folks. And we get a great shot of Sunil's shorts there as well. So that's always a bonus. First time you saw it here first.
Lucky we're five into these, Dan. So if you look at that platform offering, trying to give the C-suite a way of understanding workload across the entire organization, that actually, this is quite enticing, isn't it? You're trying to give somebody at that senior exec level a view of, what are the big programs of work across your organization, right? From idea generation all the way through to actually an operational solution. So I think that again, similar in some ways to ServiceNow, but they are really focusing this right on that C-suite and asking people in that that level to make a. Do you agree with that, Mark? Do you think?
Yeah, very, very much so. Like if you take it quite simply, it's like, in my organization, what are my teams working on? Yeah, it's often this very, very simple question that people don't have the answer to, and they often need and require systems to be enable them to be able to get that data, right? Having one platform that allows you to see all of your teams from, development all the way through to operations, and see what they're doing, plus supporting the line of business, and that sharing of data across on one platform makes a lot of sense for people in the C-suite, and platforms are very, very important, and Jira now has a platform that they can move forward on. It allows them to build also, and allows, obviously within the marketplace, you've got different applications that then complement the Jira applications that are mentioned on the screen here also. So it's a very, very interesting solution moving forward, I believe. Right.
Yeah, I agree. So if we look at the TCO side of things, so I think there's a point to make here. We touched on it earlier that pricing is published. Okay, so anybody can go on the website and have a look. It's a fairly traditional SaaS approach to pricing, different tiering depending on the functionality. So there is free all the way through to enterprise, subscriptions based on sort of monthly billing cycles, and various add-ons. Obviously, there is the broader ecosystem as well with other applications that are available. Some might be paid, some others free. But I guess the visibility of subscriptions or the cost of the software for somebody, in finance, they should be able to get access to what they need to be able to have a predictable level of subscription or pricing. If you look at sort of fairly quick implementation cycles as well, and low skill requirements for administration, actually, this is not, I think, really going to be stretching the budgets. There's huge value, as you've talked about, Mark, but actually there's a manageable flow here from a cost of ownership perspective. What is interesting though in Jira Service Management, I think, and actually you can see Atlassian trying to address this, is that JSM skills are not as widely available. The product is fairly new, right? So JSM skills are not as widely available in the marketplace, either at an individual level or at a partner level. So Atlassian has been very productive in terms of, very proactive in terms of trying to recruit new partners in, and also get their existing partners to diversify their skill sets into JSM. So you've got a very big ecosystem. It's well established, but there is work still to be done in this space. So we'll have to see how that one plays out, and I'm sure that over time, right, as the solution gains more market share, more traction, that those skills will come in. But I would say, based on what you've said, Mark, that somebody who is familiar with certainly IT service management, case management tool sets would be able to pick up this technology fairly quickly.
Yeah, very much so. And then I would say also organizations that already use Jira may have a Jira administration function within their organization. There's synergies there because they can add on these Jira Service Management at a reasonably low maintenance, and to the extent also where you can create team-based lines of business, projects. So you could have finance managing their own service catalog, categories, etc., queues, people, and it becomes very, very, very simple to manage them.
Yeah, very good. So who's it best suited to? So I think we've answered some of these questions already. You've got perhaps people at the C-suite, as Mark said, who want to know what their teams are working on, right? Want to see that across their organization. So organizations with that very strong digital transformation agenda, right, want a platform. Okay, this would be something that they would want to look at. Okay, you could also look at we put here digitally mature enterprise organizations that want to join their development teams to their operation teams, okay, their operational teams. This is certainly something that they might want to look at, okay. But interestingly, as you pointed out, Mark, a couple of times, right, that also if you're looking for a point solution in the business, okay, and you want to go and buy that point solution from somebody that's already or likely to be a vendor that supplies into your business, then Atlassian, you know, could well be that solution for you. So actually, it's very flexible, isn't it? I mean, I think we're saying, you know, this approaches from point solution all the way to that C-suite that wants to see, you know, a platform across the organization.
Yeah, it can be a strategic service management system, but also it could be tactical if the need is for, sometimes you see requirements for standing up a service management solution for a period of time. You know, we saw that quite a bit during COVID, where certain things appeared that required service management support for a period of time. Those things will always appear. So it can be tactical, but also very strategic too as well.
Absolutely. Good. All right. Dan, I think we've wrapped it up.
I think so. I mean, what I'm hearing about Jira Service Management, it's all about empowering the teams and enabling teams to function and work together more effectively, perhaps, than they already are, and having that end-to-end viewpoint, you know, enables that. If you're already using Jira in your organization, you know, it would certainly be worthwhile looking at this solution to extend that across, extend it wider. But very interesting stuff. Thank you very much, everybody. Yep, Sunil's quite right. This concludes our current review series. We really appreciate Mark for joining us today. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
As always, and as with all the others, and I'll just pop this up on screen here. If you'd like a copy of these slides, leave a comment. We'll get those across to you, no problem at all. If you'd like to have a bit more of an in-depth conversation about Jira Service Management, or indeed anything else ITSM related, please do get in touch with us. And thanks once more. I think that's pretty much all there is to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.